Good morning. Something different back here. This is State of the School, SOS, Frank School. I think this is the 21st video in this series. And I just want to, I'll say a little bit about this. I divided the basement in half. I haven't finished it, but I started it. Uh, there's still airflow between, and there will be. I'm not going to make it tight. But it went down to 1 degree. It's 1 degree Fahrenheit outside there right now, and the house upstairs is 73. It was 73 right through the night, steady. Uh, all this thermal mass really has a good effect that way. See, when you don't have a blower, you don't have any motors, no pumps, no blowers, no switches, no thermostats, and your heating system is all manually controlled, and a gravity warm air furnace, it's very comfortable, and it is silent, not dead silent. You can hear crackling of wood in there a little bit now, but you don't have that on and off and on and off all night of the blowers controlled by some thermostat. So anyway, it's working fine. Now that makes the other side of the house upstairs cooler, I think. I'll have to ask my wife about that because the bedrooms are over there, but she likes a cold bedroom, and and she doesn't seem to mind that. And then when we open the doors, well, then the air all flows. Anyway, that's not my main subject. I just want to mention a few things that I accomplished last year. The manure out of the barn, the upper barn. The pigs and I did that. Mostly the pigs did it. They would eat it, and then go out. And pigs are like dogs they get house trained, they get barn trained. They spread the manure. I explained a good bit about that. In the process, I discovered that term pig toilet, which I don't want to go into right now. It's amazing. You might want to Google it if you don't remember my discussing it. Anyway, basically the pigs, and I did make a manure pile with a wheelbarrow. I took a bunch of it outside, but basically the pigs spread that too. Anyway, it's accomplished. And that all the manure coming out of that barn probably hasn't happened in 60 years, 50 years, to get all of it out. Anyway, that was done. And I had those soirees, I called them soirees, where in the afternoon, after about a noon feeding, I'd just sit there and all the goats and all the pigs, they'd all be in there together. And it was really pleasant. Haven't done that this year because I've just been too busy, and also the goat shelf. The goat shelf and great bed. I built a shelf, I call it a goat shelf, a platform about that wide, around the wall, and about this, from the floor up about this high, and the goats would sleep on it. I didn't nail it. That's not my style. I didn't fasten it because I wasn't sure about it. Well, part of it, I didn't maintain it either. So I've got to restore that. But it works. It's a good thing to have there. And I also talked about a great bed. I called it the great bed because an area inside there which was always wet. I couldn't seem to drain it. What I finally did there was I laid blocks and used the cores as the drains, and on those blocks I put down old pieces of plywood and then old rug and then hay, and so basically I under drained that area with concrete blocks and then smoothed it out. That worked. It's the water still goes through there some. Oh, I did a lot of work on that around the outside edge because this barn, of course it didn't have a French drain. They didn't do that back in that day, I don't think, and the water problem in there was great, but I pretty much solved it once I got all the manure out and I got at that. So some of these are pretty big jobs, and I might forget to mention them. Nursery established. I think what I mean by that is I figured out where in that barn I'm going to have pens for the little animals. to basically to make sure they're safe and warm. I didn't, I just put stuff there to. It's just mostly in my mind that I got it ready. I know what I'm going to do there. It's right by a huge furnace out there. The folk fold and the pig fold. Well, up on top of the hill, back in the woods a little ways, there's an area I call the folk fold. Just like you have a sheep fold or a goat fold where you fold your animals at night, well, you could fold folk there. And I did a lot of work on that. But then, like so many things, when the season comes around and the season's lost, I had to turn to other things. But and it's waiting there. I mean, also, I didn't have anybody that was going to be using it. If I'd had somebody that was going to be using it, I would have gone right back to work. It's a section. It's 7 folk cabins, I call them. They're smaller than folk huts. A folk cabin is only 64. What the 8 times 8? Isn't that 64? 6 times 8 4. Yeah, 64 foot footprint. Not 100 square foot. 64 square foot footprint. But on top of that, I then will be putting folk huts, which are 100 square foot. So it's a folk cabin with a folk hut on top of it, and the two together I am referring to as folk towers. And I have them planned, I have the material up there, but it's like the other things, I just ran out of time for that. And down here in the meadow, I'm doing something similar, but they would be pig cabins, I guess. Same 64 square foot, really small, but for pigs. At some point, I don't think it was last year, I think it was the year before, I realized that these buildings I build are better if they have dirt floors, not wooden floors. I think it's longer ago than that I figured that out. If you've got a wooden floor, then you're not going to be able to keep it as clean. You're going to end up having rodents get under there. Then you're going to have snakes get after the rodents. Now, if it's a whole story, that's another matter. But it's just slightly raised so it doesn't get wet and drained around the edge. That's better. So anyway, down here in the meadow, there's 4 of them. Basically, the pigs use them a little bit, but haven't gotten around to putting the roofs on yet. Now, right on top of the hill, I planned and started a complex. Now that folk fold up in the woods could house about 40 some people. It would be 2 in the cabin, 6 times 7, 42 people if it were completely full. It would share a fountain in the middle, which I started. I got the water there from Barbie Biss. I got the water actually running through the complex, but it would have to be maintained. But up here on top of the hill, on the very top of the hill, I'm doing something different. I came up with a design which I call a bed shed. It's a shed roof over a bed, and if it's a bunk bed, it's a bunk bed shed. And I'm building basically double beds that are bunk beds would be a double bunk bed shed, and I've got 8 of them, or is it 6? I got to think about that. I think it's 8. 8 of them it'll be in a circle around a shared open fire. See, that's a whole different thing. And they'll share a roof. They'll touch. Since it's a shed. See, a gable roof. Maybe you know this. A gable roof is like this. A shed roof is just like that. Like here's the building. It's a shed. Well, if they're put in an octagon, those with the corners touching, it won't take much more to have them share a roof and then be around an open fire in the middle. Open because right in the center, I'll leave it open. It'll be like what's called a gur, a G-E-R, gur. They're also called, I always have trouble remembering that word, but it's much more common. Yurt. The word's more common. And around those, I plan to put, I mean, they're just going to be bunk bed sheds, just bunk beds, just a bed with a shared inner space. But around them, I plan to build 8, I may leave one out, but I may not. I don't know. I think 8 folk huts, not folk towers, but folk huts around them. So, and that will be much like what in China they call them tulous. I don't Tulou. You'd have to look that up. They're a round kind of a round building that basically has many. I mean, some of those tulus in China had up to 800 people in them. I mean, bunches of families. They were huge and several stories high. So, in effect, it would be like a gur with a tulu around it. And I have the material, I have the skill, I just don't have the people to do it, and I haven't had the time. But I want to mention those because they were things I really worked a lot on. And then I did mention right behind this curtain here is a sheet metal shop. I built myself a little bit of a sheet metal shop so I could make the buckets. And I spent more time, well, no, I spent more time on designing the buckets and all than on setting the shop up. But I spent a good bit of time gathering all my sheet metal tools together into one place and getting some of them sharpened and the ones I want. Well, I went on a little longer than I wanted to. Bye for now.